welcome back to Freedom Revamped, the podcast. I am so excited for today's episode. I know I say that every time. How could you not be excited when you're getting free, right?
Correct.
I am joined by Kourtney. Kourtney, say hello to everyone.
Hello, people.
And Kourtney, please do the honor of introducing our lovely guest today.
Yes, guys, I am super excited. Today we are talking about setting healthy boundaries. I just know this conversation, but that is okay because we have a certified life coach. She's the founder of Book Jasmine Now and Fulfilled Life and Vocal Coaching, Miss Jasmine Carson.
Yes.
Hi,
Hello.
y'all.
Hey. As you
Hey.
their energy is good. So we are so excited to hop right into the conversation. Before we do, Jasmine, tell everybody a little bit more about who you are and what it is.
Hey, y'all. Thank you again, Kourtney and DeShon. It is an absolute pleasure to be here with you all. As mentioned, I am Jasmine Carson. I am the founder and CEO of Jasmine Now Incorporated, which houses everything I do as an artist, as a professional background vocalist, and also as a team trainer and strategist. It also houses fulfilled life and creative coaching, where I specialize in working with singers, songwriters, and music producers by helping them overcome mindset blocks, optimize their opportunities, and jumpstart or kickstart their careers. And then I also do that same thing for individuals who are not in the creative sphere, but would like coaching in those same areas. So, yeah.
She loves a Renaissance woman at her.
We do it. Right. Yes.
Well, as Kourtney mentioned earlier, today we're talking about setting healthy boundaries. And I don't know about everyone who's listening, but this is a conversation that I definitely need to be in on. So, Kourtney, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and ask Miss Jasmine our legendary question.
Yes, guys, you all know. You know that we have to ask this question every interview. So, Jasmine, we want to know, how do you define freedom?
I define freedom as, I define freedom as accessing my spiritual relationship with Christ,
Mhm.
not only accessing, but receiving, and then implementing it here in the earthly realm, in my relationships, in my career, in my finances, in everything that is attached to me. That's what I define freedom as.
Jasmine, and it's different from what I'm used to.
Yes.
So I love it. But based on that
Right.
definition, how do you go about practicing it? Because Kourtney, our founder, has implemented this concept of practicing freedom. And she that freedom is not just a destination that we arrive at, it's something that we have to continuously practice. So how do you go about practicing freedom?
I think that's a beautiful concept, you all, because a lot of us, we have an idea or we know what we want freedom to be, but we don't practice it. And so I think
Right.
that's a very great way to bring this in. How do I actively practice freedom? For me, that would be through prayer. That would be through devotion. That would be through a lot of, I listen to a lot of worship music. Another way is inviting change and an understanding that, how do I practice it? Inviting change and understanding that I can only control what I can directly impact.
Mm.
And I have to make sure that I keep what I can directly impact in perspective, because if not, I'll be exerting energy and becoming frustrated and flustered in things that I can't change, which is another way to keep me bound and not experience freedom. So how I practice freedom on the spiritual side, like I said, through prayer, devotion, singing, worship, and inviting Christ into my everyday, like talking to him like I'm talking to y'all. Like, God, you're gonna have to do something. You have to make something shake because I ain't feeling it. That's on the spiritual side. On the physical side, I try to be as aware of what I can control and what I can change, which is me and my thoughts. So I practice meditation. I practice awareness and mindfulness. I am gentle with myself. Those things are how I practice freedom because it's how I steel myself and it's how I put me back in perspective, which is what I can control in all situations. And so sometimes I can allow myself to be distracted by other things that I think I can control, but I can't. So I have to bring it back to what I can influence and then adjust my relationships, my surroundings, everything else accordingly. So, yeah, that's my answer.
And that kind of segues into today's conversation about setting healthy boundaries. Because one of the things you talked about is making sure that you keep a good handle on what you can control.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and open the floor. Let's have an open dialogue between myself, you, and Kourtney as we discuss setting healthy boundaries. So to jump into the first question.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead, Kourtney.
I was to say before we the first question, I do want to ask what you think conversation about healthy boundaries is important because before we recording, I was telling Jasmine, Kourtney boundaries, but them for me, like I just horrible at honestly why I wanted this conversation is I know for me, I need to learn better ways to maintain them. So why do you both think this conversation is important to you personally?
DeShon, you want it first?
Let me go ahead.
Look, she's shaking her head.
Because my goodness, I think this is something that I just kind of got a grasp on.
Mm-hmm.
And I still am learning how to maneuver. I'm 27 years old, and I feel like for the longest, I had not set boundaries. So I struggle with bringing on a lot of stress that was caused by others because I was taking on their energy and their problems. I struggled with a lot of depression because I had not set enough boundaries to have a good sense of who I was. It was just so many things that were suffering in my personal life because I was not setting boundaries. So now that I'm older and I'm learning how to, I mean, as most people say, learn how to say no or learn how to say I can't or whatever the case may be. The more that I'm learning how to set those boundaries, the more, no pun intended, I say this every episode, but the more free I feel.
Absolutely.
Like I get to be more of myself because I'm like, no, I don't want to do this today. And I might not have anything serious to do, but sit down and watch Grey's Anatomy. But I'm going to do that because that's what I choose to do. Setting boundaries in your work life, because that's what I've really been learning how to do more recently. Quick side note, I quit my 9 to 5 about a month ago to work a part-time job. And I had been working a full-time job probably since I was 16. Ever since I was 16, I had a full-time job when I was school and everything. I've never had this much free time. And I just feel so much more open because I set boundaries in my work and life balance. I've never had this much work-life balance. I was work. And then DeShon was suffering or I would be upset, but it wasn't about anything that I was dealing with. My conversations would always be centered around work. So I feel like this conversation is one that I definitely need to hone in on, not just for my professional life, but also for my social life.
Okay. And can you repeat the question for me one more time, Kourtney?
Yes. Why do you feel it is important that we have this conversation about setting healthy boundaries for you personally?
Okay. So same thing kind of with DeShon is saying. I vividly remember how I felt when I didn't set them. And I actively remember or I actively experience how it feels when I don't have them. It's important. It's been important in my life to set boundaries. And I think it's important to have this conversation because boundaries really showcase what you actually value and what you say you value. And boundaries in setting them and more importantly, sticking to them, they really allow you to learn more about you and face you if you allow it. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier. It allows you to put things into perspective as far as what you can actually affect change in when you put boundaries in. And a lot of the times, for me, I was a person who didn't set boundaries, or I set strange boundaries as an excuse or a crutch not to move forward, or not to do what I needed to do, or not to make some changes, or not to, really address me. It was an excuse for me to, I'm going to just say I can't keep these boundaries, but why? You know what I'm saying? What's the root issue? For me, it was people pleasing. For me, it was self-esteem. For me, it was what I saw, whether it was intentionally done to create a barrier. You see mom and them, you see auntie and them, they did it, and it's ingrained, kind of like you're supposed to do this, but to the extent where it was unhealthy and I couldn't keep track of anything. And then now, oh man, it's this, and I'm late, and now I'm stressed. And for me, I don't sleep if I have something to do. If I made all these commitments to people, and now as soon as I get ready to rest, it's like, dang, I got to do so and so. I can't even sleep, and I can't even enjoy if I'm trying to hang out. You know what I'm saying? It was just like a lot of this stuff is not.
Yeah.
We overcomplicate it. I was overcomplicating boundaries, and I wasn't getting to the root of what the issue was. And so why is it that I'm having such a hard time just sitting down and enjoying watching Grey's Anatomy? What is it about me? You know what I'm saying? That makes me break the boundary of, so let's say, hey, I want to rest, basically. That's what that is. I want to rest. What is it about me that if I say I'm going to work for 3 or 4 hours today, and then I'm going to rest at this time? Why do I break that boundary and go ahead and start resting before I committed to 2 or 3 hours of work time, right? So instead of just getting frustrated with breaking the boundary, well, what is that about? Am I that tired that I can't uphold this work time? So what does that mean? Am I not setting up? You know what I'm saying? So where am I not? Just learning to listen to yourself. What's going on with me that I can't uphold this 2 or 3 hours of work time? What's going on? Am I that tired? Do I need to rest that much? So that means I need to set this amount of time aside. You get what I'm saying? So I'm probably all into our interview, but boundaries help me keep it in perspective. And it puts the responsibility and the ownership back on me, and not off of things that don't affect what I'm doing, regardless of how much I've convinced myself that they do. So yeah, that's the shorter version.
Kourtney, I'd like to hear your answer.
Yeah, Kourtney.
I mean, I just feel like it's important. One, because like we always say this, DeShon, that we learn so much from our guests and their personal experiences. So since I'm like literally when I was sitting down and saying, okay, what do we need to cover this season? I was literally thinking of things that either you've said you've dealt with, I was dealing with, or that we've even heard past guests say that they were dealing with. And so the day I was writing this, I was currently struggling with boundaries with my clients, our boundaries with overworking with Freedom Revamped, our boundaries in just personal relationships. And I was like, girl, if you do not get somebody on this podcast that can possibly help you, then you're going to experience burnout, which I have several times. So honestly, it was just probably a selfish thing, but that is why I feel like we needed this conversation.
Sometimes you got to be selfish.
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. That was a wonderful question, Kourtney. So thank you for that. But as we kind of expound on the answers that we all have given, how do you know if you've set healthy boundaries? At what point can you decide, like, oh, this is a that I've set?
For me, I would say peace is a great indicator. And I ain't even trying to be deep, but like really like the peace, like, man, I've got this done, and I can rest. I think there's a different type of freedom to say, to use the word. There's a different type of freedom when you have healthy boundaries, and what I would say mentally, thought management. So how do I know I have healthy boundaries? What's going on in my head? If I start talking to myself negatively, am I beating myself up? Do I know how to bring those thoughts into submission? Do I know how to calm my body down? You know what I'm saying? Do I know where things are? What do I know about me that helps me feel at peace? So if I know, in order to, let's say with work, If I need to plan, if I'm stressed out, like I feel like I'm discombobulated, I need to get organized. And what does that organization look like for me? And then what does that schedule look like for me? And then what does that look like? Do I need to talk to somebody? You get what I'm saying? The peace. And what is the root of that? You know what I'm saying? Am I communicating this out of pride, or am I saying, Jasmine, you genuinely need help, so you need to reach out, or you need to communicate your need to people? Hey, I'm putting this pressure on myself when it comes to deadlines, because instead of being afraid of people taking their hands off the project altogether, I extend my deadlines after giving them, you get what I'm saying? How do I know if I set healthy boundaries? I'm communicating with myself. It's not always a feeling, but it's a way of bringing your feelings into submission to what is, coming back to the present. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So, like, hey, okay, this is what's going on. Am I in a situation that doesn't exist? Am I panicking about something that hasn't happened? Am I panicking about something that has already happened and I can't do anything about? What can I do about now that I can impact, that I know that I like, that's going to help me relax, that's going to bring me to, help me to be at peace, or whatever the case may be. So that's how I know peace is the answer for me, that I know that I've set a healthy boundaries. There's a peace about it. And even if I'm not saying have the whole thing figured out, but that what you can work with for now is structured, and I have a peace about it. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Absolutely.
I think mine is the same. I was gonna say I experienced less mental draining, if you can say. Like I don't find myself being overwhelmed as much, or being depressed as much, or having as much anxiety, because like you said, I become more organized. I'm not doing things that I don't want to do or that I don't feel like doing in the moment. And it's just, like you said, peace all around me. So I think that's how I know if I've set healthy boundaries. And it's like it shows all around me as well. Like it's not just me not experiencing it, it's me seeing our better relationships with my family members, our partners and stuff. So I think for me, it's just looking internally as well as how it affects my external being as well.
Absolutely. I think in adulthood, for me, I know that I've set healthy boundaries and I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
And I say this because Jasmine kind of mentioned this earlier. I would find myself in a moment that I was supposed to be enjoying, worried about something else, and that would ruin it. I'd be like, oh, I'm out with my friends, or oh, I'm on vacation. Oh, but I have this deadline. I got to do this, or I got to do this. And then now, like, all of the good time I was having is out the window because I'm sulking on this one thing or this one person who might have upset me or whatever the case may be. And that's when I knew, like, okay, I'm not doing right. I gotta set some boundaries. I gotta put some walls here. I gotta make very stern dimensions as to what I'm gonna take, what I'm not gonna take, what I'm gonna do when I'm not gonna do it, so that I can enjoy myself. So now that I have a lot more fun, or find myself doing things that I wouldn't have normally done. Like I went putt-putting the other week with my family, just random things that I wouldn't have usually made time for. I know that I'm setting healthy boundaries. I know okay, if I have time to do this and truly enjoy it without checking my phone or checking my emails, I'm in a good space. This is what healthy boundaries looks like for DeShon.
Very good.
But wonderful answer, Jasmine. I feel like it's so eloquently laid out a lot of things that will kind of help us later on in the conversation
Go
forward. What are some healthy boundaries that we can set? So we talked about how boundaries can be set in all different realms of our life, whether it be professional, whether it be social, or whatever the case may be. So what are some examples of boundaries that we can set in our lives?
For me, I would begin with being clear on your boundaries for yourself, number one. And by setting healthy boundaries for yourself, I think that means getting clear on what you need. Being as clear as you can about what direction you're trying to take, or what direction you're trying to go, or even if you have a specific goal, getting clear on that. Breaking down what that looks like in your day-to-day. How does this work in my day-to-day? And then everything in your environment, and I mean from your room to your car to the people you talk to, whatever. what I believe, your belief system. What do I believe about myself? What do I believe about achieving this? Set up your boundaries according to that, and then eliminate what doesn't, and start setting a habit. A lot of the time, an example of setting healthy boundaries for me, I would even say, okay, Jasmine, if I don't like a cluttered space, I need to be I need to be making sure that I'm keeping my space clear. So if I have to move a bin out, that is, take the dirty clothes bin. Let's say you put your clothes on the floor. I need to take my dirty clothes bin out of the closet and maybe put it by the door somewhere that I can see. You get what I'm saying? What my point is, setting healthy boundaries. I'm losing my train of thought. Come back. Being able to set up things in your actual environment so that you can develop a habit of healthy boundaries is important. So you need to be clear, to answer the question, on what it is that you're trying to accomplish. You need to examine, make space, you all, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes to write it out. A lot of us can't establish healthy boundaries because we don't know what they are outside of pleasing others. You need to identify what those boundaries are for you. Look at your belief system. Okay, this is what I want, and this is what I believe or I have believed concerning being able to attain this. So awareness, clarity of goal, awareness of belief, awareness of self. Then that's when you start to build strategy. Get with somebody, talk with somebody. If you have a friend, if you have a trusted colleague, a coach, a therapist, whoever, get with somebody who can help you give actual strategy to your challenges, not fluff. While I love the Lord and hope and pray and faith, those are not strategies. Those are things that give you momentum within strategy, but you need an actual plan that's realistic to you, to what you can do. If you know that you're not going to do exercise, you're not going to run a mile every day, don't set that type of goal. Set a realistic expectation. I'm going to walk 5 minutes today. You get what I'm saying? So these are like boundaries that I want to talk, that I feel are healthy. Communication, guys. Communicating to yourself, how you talk to yourself. Do I talk to myself in a healthy way? Am I gentle with myself? Am I kind to myself, or am I beating myself up? Learning to be present, communicating your needs to the people who directly impact either your job or your regular life. So whatever relationship that takes on, communicate that. And then if you stray away or if you fall off, create some type of communication with yourself that you can come back. We're coming back. We're going to start over. Don't penalize yourself. And then I will also say a healthy boundary is to create some type of reward system. We're very clear on when we mess up. We're always very clear on when we don't do something the way that we want it to, or when we're aggravated with ourselves. But how often do we have a reward system for ourselves when we actually stick to something, when we build that consistency and build that trust within ourselves? Set up some type of reward system as well. So those are a couple of things. There's a lot of things, but it's kind of a synopsis of ways, in my opinion, that you can build healthy boundaries with yourself. Meditation, prayer, those types of things. But the root work to really get clear on what it is, we got to do the hard work of learning ourselves, do the hard work of mindfulness and learning about how we think, and then understanding that we can change how we think. Like you don't have to be, you don't have to succumb, even though sometimes it can feel like that, to what's going on in your mind. So how do I become present? How do I get back into what's happening right now? Stop the thought and then make a choice. That's all mindfulness is, ladies, is allowing yourself the space to choose. There's never not a time unless there is something going on in your body where you cannot function. God forbid that was something that happened to you, but you can't stop and make a choice. So those are examples to me of setting healthy boundaries.
Jasmine, you just keep proving why we invited you to have this conversation with us. Yes. Okay, your answers are dropping gems left and right.
Yeah,
I don't even know how to follow that up, but
Right. I think I'm gonna sit this one out.
Oh, no, y'all got something to say? Say it. There's no right
I have
or
a
wrong
little
answer.
answer. I have a little answer. I'm not gonna do too much because you definitely served. But I was just gonna say, I think for me, I was gonna touch more on like financial boundaries. I feel like budgeting, it sounds like a myth, but it's a real thing, guys. It really does work, and it really does give peace. And that's what we talked about as like an indicator of healthy boundaries. And I've been doing more recently, enjoy the pleasures of life, you have to make sure that you have a good sense of like, I can only spend this much this week, okay? Because I have bills to do next week or whatever the case may be. And I feel like when you create those boundaries for yourself, because that's more of a personal thing, and sometimes it involves others because you want to make sure that they know, like, don't invite me out to dinner. I can't spend this week or whatever the case may be. I think that once you've established those boundaries and you've understood a good sense of what your income to expense ratio is, you have a sense of peace because you're like, okay, I can spend a little extra, or I can do something that I enjoy, or whatever the case may be. So that's my only example. I don't have too much to follow up what Jasmine just said. She was phenomenal.
There's nothing wrong with that. That was an excellent example.
I'm going to segue us to our next question, which talks about some of the benefits of setting positive boundaries, well, healthy boundaries for yourself. Because I think that we kind of touched on those things, but we can get a little bit more personal on what some of the benefits have been for ourselves since we've set healthy boundaries.
For me, definitely rest. And rest was important because I couldn't stay up for anything, y'all. And it used to kind of be funny, but then it was like, man, I couldn't like watch a movie. Like if I wanted to hang out with my family, with my man, I'm passing out. I'm asleep everywhere. I'm asleep at the restaurant. Like because I wasn't saying no, or I wasn't being honest with myself about the changes that I needed to make, the boundaries I needed to make for myself. So rest was definitely a huge benefit, which also contributed to weight for me, because when I didn't set boundaries, I stressed a lot. And so I was a very big stress eater. So I would stress eat. I'd be up all night, all day. And I gained a lot. One of the reasons why I was gaining a lot of weight. What was another thing? Hair growth. My hair was falling out, y'all, like for real. And my hair was falling out. So let's see, rest, balanced, healthy life, peace of mind. What else? I think I just felt better about being around people. I wasn't in a rush to go home and just be to myself all the time. Sometimes people are introverts, and sometimes you just so tired you don't. No, I don't want to talk. No, I don't. No. What do you need? Like I just don't want to. I just talk to you. No, but I think I wanted to. I had a desire to get out and do more. But ultimately, I will say setting boundaries helped me to do better about honoring my own voice and sticking up for my own goals. As a recovering or a former people pleaser, I say it jokingly, but seriously, it was like, Jasmine, it's okay. It allowed me to learn more about myself because I value what I have to offer and what I have to say, not just what I think people want me to say and do, but like really, there's a confidence. There's one thing to be confident when I feel like I got it. And then it's one thing to always be confident, regardless of how I look, what's going on, how I performed or whatever, knowing that I can having a center, a root to come back. So boundaries help me do that, and realizing that boundaries aren't necessarily a bad thing. Or that setting boundaries doesn't mean that I have to dislike it anymore. You know what I'm saying? You can just set a boundary to the thing. Like we do this thing where we try to convince ourselves that we don't like it in order to discipline ourselves in that area, when that's not the truth. There are some things that I enjoy, but I just need to set a boundary. I've been in like even with love or relationships, if you want to go there, people, it's okay if you've been hurt in a relationship. You don't have to withdraw and shrink. You can still love and enjoy the things that you love about love. You can still love your job and the things that you love about your job. You can still, have the desires and still feel the excitement that you feel, but just put boundaries to it. That's it. All we're doing is setting parameters to this thing so you do not overexhaust yourself and that you can show up in your full capacity. So those are the really big benefits for me, that mental clarity and the confidence that comes with the awareness of the true why of why I'm setting these boundaries and why they matter. So yeah.
Definitely. Kourtney, did you want to answer that one?
Yes, and I honestly think my answer would go back to our very first question is of how do you know you're setting healthy boundaries? So for me, I know I'm setting healthy boundaries. I mean, the benefits are when I know it, I'm experiencing peace, I'm not experiencing stress or anxiety. Other benefits can be that, like she said, you get to, or like DeShon was saying earlier, you get to spend more time with your loved ones or with yourself. And honestly, it just creates a better balance in your life. So I get to have less time working, more time discovering new things about myself. And that's a huge thing for me, is being able to discover more about who I am, because I get to know what I like and know what I dislike. And that can honestly help me set more boundaries, or even if I no longer need a boundary in my life, then I can also cancel out the boundaries I no longer need.
I would agree. I mean, we keep talking about peace, but I think that is so important. Like right now, that is so important to me, the peace. Like the moments where I'm not thinking about what's coming next, I'm not thinking about any deadlines. I'm just really relaxing or enjoying myself. Those moments are so important to me. So I think that's been the biggest benefit. And the other benefit is just really, truly enjoying life. Like I have been living lately. I was like going through life before, but I have been living, like really taking advantage of the moments, living in the now, enjoying the now without worrying about, because my biggest thing was always worrying about the future. And sometimes harping on the past or whatever the case may be. But I'm so happy that, as she mentioned earlier, I'm recovering from those things and I'm moving beyond them. So I have so much more of a sense of like peace and joy. Like I want to go. I want to hang out. Before I was kind of being an introvert because I just didn't. I was so irritable and tired because I was running myself on solo fuel. My friends would be like, "Let's do something." I'm like, "I don't want to do it." And they're like, "You never want to do anything." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." Like I got myself into a stupor until I set boundaries and created for myself a balance between work and life. And now I'm just like, "What are we doing next? Where do you want to go?"
I always encourage people, and thank you for that transparency, y'all. You all are giving beautiful answers. Why? Like, why do I feel the need to run myself this way?
Mm-hmm.
Why do I feel, what is going on with me where I feel like it's okay to overstep these boundaries or not create them at all? Like,
Because
what am I trying to prove to myself? What is it about me that I feel the need to operate this way? Be honest. That's what I mean. Clarity, y'all. Get clear about what it is. Like, seriously. Why do I not? I don't want them to think I don't know. I don't want them to think I'm not smart. I don't want them to think I'm not capable. And, like, I don't want to feel like I'm not grateful to have it. Like just crazy, not crazy stuff, but like really give yourself, journal this stuff out, voice memo, talk to yourself on the drive home, in the bed, because it's already running through your mind. But I always encourage, if it ever comes up again, why do I feel the need to do this? Give yourself that opportunity to answer, so you can truly, when you set your boundaries, you really have an understanding of your why. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say on that. Yeah, let's keep it rolling, y'all. I'm loving it. Hey.
I love it. I love it. So I'm going to skip around a little bit because we're kind of answering some of these questions as we go. So I just dig more deeper because some of these questions are going to allow us to do that. So I want to hop over to the next question of the difficulty of establishing and maintaining boundaries. So we talked about creating them or whatever the case may be, but what was it like for you all? Experience any difficulty at all when you started to create these boundaries? Because one thing that I'm noticing, just to kind of quickly answer the question for myself, that Jasmine mentioned, I was struggling with people pleasing, and it was worrying about what they'll think or letting people down, but not thinking about that feeling about myself. So I'd be like, man, it's crazy. Like I'm worried about other people's feelings, but I'm not worried about mine. Why is that? And that's a good question, like you mentioned earlier. Why do we feel that way? Sometimes we don't have an explanation, but when we look back and reflect, or we journal and we reflect, it's like, I can't believe I was acting like that. I can't believe that that's how I felt. I can't believe that I thought so little of myself that I wanted to do for everyone else and didn't want to do for myself. Like how exert so much energy for others and not exert that same energy for myself, or not exert any energy at all and give myself the rest that I needed. Mm-hmm. So I think that that was the biggest part for me, worrying about whether or not that meant I was going to still be a good friend if I told my friends I couldn't do certain things, or whether or not I was going to be a good partner if I said, hey, I don't want to hang out tonight, or I don't want to do anything, or I don't want to talk, or whatever it might be, or whether I was being good professionally if I just came in and strictly did my work and didn't take on all the other tasks that everybody else had poured onto me. Whatever the case may be, I feel like that was what was hard for me at first, because I was concerned about others. And a part of me is so tied up in service and a service mind that I still am concerned about those things, but not to a point of detriment now. I have a lot better control over them. But I think that was the big hurdle that I had to jump when I started setting boundaries for myself. What about you, Kourtney?
Yeah, I would definitely say I truly experience it like all the time. I'm really good at setting my boundaries. I'm really good at communicating my boundaries, but when it comes to maintaining them, I'm not so good at it. So if someone crosses a boundary, I don't remind them like, hey, that is a boundary I set and informed you about. So I think my experience with it is just I'm learning that Jasmine was asking me earlier before we started, why do you think you have problems with that? And you both have said it. It is people pleasing, which is something I used to be like the worst people pleaser, to the point that that's where I ended up losing my identity or not knowing who I am. And then I'm getting a little better at it now, but it's still setting those personal boundaries. Is where I have the issues with it. It's a mess.
You're growing, okay?
Whoa.
And soil in the dirt, so that's always messy. But when you come out on the other side, you're going to bloom. So you're fine.
So great answers, lady. I want to say along with that, yes, I have experienced difficulties maintaining and establishing boundaries. And a large part of that is back to what I was saying, systems and habits, y'all. Your system, everything that's going around you in your day-to-day life. If you I would set boundaries, but I didn't have anything in my system to support the boundary. Everything that around me, whether it be what I was listening to, eating, speaking to, same thing. All of everything in my environment still supported the boundary, or what I'm trying to say? It still supported the old thing versus supporting the new boundary, if that makes sense. And so a lot of the times we make these choices mentally, we make a decision mentally, but we don't adjust our environments to the choice. That's what I want to say. We don't. And so we kind of panic because we still walk in to the same thing and we're trying to navigate this new boundary and we haven't really set it up for ourselves. Basically, we don't help ourselves out. You know what I'm saying? And as we set boundaries, the problem is we haven't built a trust within ourselves. So there's kind of like that you have to contend with as well if you're a habitual boundary breaker. So now in your mind, you're kind of like, I want to do this, but I'm apprehensive because I haven't done enough of something to build that trust. So what I would encourage, to tie everything in, is when you set a boundary, pick one more thing that you can accompany with that to help build the trust. If that's just, I'm gonna put my shoes by the door every day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna make my bed up before I go to work every day. If that's it. Or I'm gonna make sure I take my water bottles out of the car when I come back in from work. Just give yourself one thing that starts allowing you to build the trust within yourself of doing what you say you're going to do, if that makes sense. And so then I would also encourage your And then just really look, we have to assess what in here supports or doesn't support the boundary that I just said. So if I need to start listening to some affirmations or changing what I do in the morning, or finding 2 or 3 minutes or 10 minutes where I just need to take a quick little nap, or you get what I'm saying? Find little things that allows your environment to help you out with the boundary that you said, so you don't have to work as hard. You know what I'm saying? So that's basically what I would say. That is what I experienced as far as difficulties when I was establishing and maintaining boundaries. I wasn't really giving myself a real shot. And a lot of that had to do with me still with me being content and saying I made the boundary, but I didn't really want to change.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't really want it. I just was frustrated. I only wanted to implement boundaries when I was frustrated. But as long as I felt like I had a rhythm and things were going my way, I was cool with it. So I didn't really want it. But I was trying. I just need something to pull me out of this funk. But we gotta get past that. And be real with yourself and say that, you know. So those are the things, the difficulties that I had, but that's what helped me to get on through there.
Yeah.
Well, upset, you're like, oh my God, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yes. And I want to add on
doing it again. Like I had to really jump into that. But the one thing that stuck out for me that you were saying is like creating a habit of it, implementing your boundaries into your habit so that it becomes a habitual thing, so much so that it becomes a part of your lifestyle. So it's not a strength to maintain these boundaries. It's just a part of who you are. So I love that. And we've already kind of answered some of the other questions, but this question we have to jump onto because I'm like super excited to hear how you do this, Jasmine, because I know you're going to have a good answer. But I need to know how you communicate these boundaries to others, because I think that is one of the things that I was having a difficulty with, was communicating them. So how do you go about communicating your boundaries with others?
So the first thing I do is I address, if there's apprehension, I try to address why is there apprehension, Jasmine? What are you scared of? Are you scared they're going to look at you different? Or is this relationship going to change? Are they going to be offended? And then I assess, is that realistic, or if I made that up? Like, who told you that you get what I'm saying? Like, this is going to be the result. Seriously, I have to ask myself, like, Jasmine, is that for real, or are you making that up? And then if it's a person that I know, and I mean this in the most non-manipulative way possible, I mean it. If it's a person that you know, use what you know about them to communicate with them. So if it's something that you want to talk about, if you know we have better conversations in these type of environments, maybe when we go out to dinner or when we kicking it, you know, not saying to make a makeshift environment, but use what you know. I'm not just gonna, if I want to have a conversation with them, I need to see what they're doing. They're not the type of person I can just pick up and have a deep conversation with them about without letting them know. You get what I'm saying? That's what I mean. Like, use what you know, and then remind yourself, especially with people that you know, about that relationship. This is your friend, Jasmine. You all love each other. You all care. Like, sometimes I talk to myself. There's no need for apprehension. Tell your body that it can relax. Verbally tell your body to relax, because your body is naturally going to be resistant to change. So you have to tell yourself, relax. And then I call them up and tell them. And if it's not a conversation where there's any easy way to have it, I say it. I have to establish my why. Remind yourself of why I need to have this conversation. And then be okay. For me, I go through a couple outcomes. I already talked to myself about a couple possible outcomes and become okay with them. And then I talk to them just like I'm talking to you. If it's somebody that I don't know, then I'm very firm on my why. And then I go in. You communicate them. You don't have to be, you communicate them to the extent of your comfort. So you don't have to be, oh, I'm working on myself and I need to stop people pleasing. No, you decide if you do that. You don't have to communicate your boundaries with a why. You can just tell people, this is what I'm doing, and I need you to do this. And you know, it don't have to be arrogance or cattiness, but it's building that confidence and building your voice. So communicate it. Understand your why. If it's somebody that you know, use what you know about them as far as your normal communication style that brings the most ease of conversational flow. And then if it's somebody that you don't know, establish your why, be firm and confident in your why, and listen to your body, command your thoughts, come back in. We're okay. We're not doing this. If we fall out, we go fall out when we fall out. We ain't gonna fall out twice. And what I mean by that is, I'm not going through this twice. I say that all the time. If we gonna go through it, I'm gonna go through it when it happened. I'm not gonna go through it the whole night before and then if it actually happened. Not saying don't use wisdom, but that's my advice to it. Ultimately, say what you need to say based on your why. And you communicate it. People who are committed to misunderstanding boundaries, there's nothing you can say. That's why you have to be sure. That's why I have to be sure. People who are committed to not honoring people's boundaries and only want to do what they want to do, there's nothing you can say or do. So you have to establish, again, your why and your boundary within self, and then go for it. It is, and you be content with what you were desiring to do when you came there. So that's what I would say.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You said was like kind of this concept of like normalizing not having to explain why, because I feel like that's something that society makes people feel entitled to. People feel like, why? Like, why? Just tell me why. I don't have to explain to you. I just don't want to go. Sorry. Like, that's it. It's just, I just don't want to go. And I think that once we get to a sense of that, we get a little bit more confident in the choices that we're making. But to just kind of give a quick answer, how I would communicate my boundaries, or learning to communicate my boundaries, is to communicate firmly, like you said, and to not go back on them. So if I say, hey, I don't want to do this actually, and then I get the feedback of, oh, well, why? Or I think you can do it. Yes, but I'm choosing not to do this right now. Like, respect that there is a reason why I don't want to do it. And that's usually how I communicate my why. Just respect that I made this choice for a reason, and that I'm not doing it to harm you or with any malintention. I just can't do this for myself. And sometimes that's well received, sometimes it's not. But if that person doesn't receive it well, then I know either that's a relationship that needs to be worked on or needs to be let go, whatever the case may be, depending on the relationship. But I think my biggest thing has been understanding that this is what I don't want to do. This is the boundary. I don't want to explain why. I want you to accept my boundary. And then just kind of leaving it up to them, because it's up to them whether or not they want to accept it, but it's always going to be up to me to maintain it. So once it's established, you can't say that I didn't tell you. Like, once I tell you the fire's hot, if you come and touch the fire and you get burned, you can't say I didn't tell you. And that's just kind of the place that I found peace in recently when communicating my boundaries with others.
That's good. One thing I realized in Jasmine's last answer is that I don't realize I need to set boundaries until I'm actually reaching that breaking point of frustration or anger or whatever it may be. And because I come from a family full of strong women who are just like, tell it like it is, I really have to think before I say something, because especially if I'm already frustrated or angry in that moment, I have to be like, okay, let me just take a moment before I get fired or lose a friend or start a fight, whatever it may be, because this mouth is reckless.
We ain't fighting, are we? Are we fighting?
Well, see, it's never happened because I take that moment. Yes.
I'm kidding, but good.
But I think I communicate my boundary. It really depends on the person. Like Jasmine was saying, if it's someone I know really well, then it's like, okay, sis, let's talk this through, or bro, whoever you may be. But if it's someone I don't know that well, or it's someone on a professional level, then I really have to think about my audience. I learned that in a communication class, like, how will they receive it in a way that they won't feel offended, a way that they will still understand it. And I'm huge on, like, if I set my boundary with you and you choose to ignore it anyway, then that is not on me. That is completely on you. So that is actually a question I wanted to ask you guys, is unless you had something else to add to this. But okay. So when you convey your boundaries to other people and they still disrespect them, how do you handle those situations? Because I still
like this.
It's hard. So I want to know your answers. I don't have an answer for it. I'm asking for advice here.
I'm making a joke, but I'm very serious, just like this. Because one of the hardest things for me has been understanding the concept that people don't behave like you do. Like, just because something a certain way doesn't mean that they would do it that certain way. And I am somewhat passive aggressive. So sometimes I find myself getting walked on until I stand up, and then I'm like, okay, wait a minute, get off my back. Because I think you thought that I was going to let this happen, but I established this earlier. Like we said, maintaining those boundaries. I established earlier that that's something I didn't want to do, or I established earlier that this is how I want to be communicated with, or whatever the case may be. Because I have a baby face, I'm young. I've worked in fields where I'm working with women or men who are far older than I am and who are more experienced or have been in the business longer, and they feel as if they can, perform any way or say things to you any kind of way because they're older. And that's fine. But one thing that I always try to establish is that I'm an adult as well. So the biggest thing that I can kind of touch on more recently, Kourtney, to kind of share an answer, is my work-life balance. My previous boss, I had to kind of be a little bit more firm in my communication with her because a boundary had been broken. And I let her know before, hey, this is my boundaries. As far as the workplace is concerned, I feel like you've gotten a little bit far too comfortable for me. Because as an African-American woman working in a white corporate America, sometimes you have to set boundaries in order to enjoy every day at work, or in order to survive every day at work, because it can be a lot with the microaggressions or just sometimes overt racism or whatever the case may be. So having set those boundaries and having to have that conversation was hard, but I think sometimes we have to buckle down and take one for yourself. Like the team, me, myself, and I need me to take one for the team. So it's a sense of hey, if Kourtney, you say to someone, I want a strict cutoff at 5. I work with my clients after 5 because I need peace. I need time to, settle in, eat my dinner, or whatever it is that Kourtney wants to do. That's what Kourtney has decided. And then when those people are like, hey, well, can I talk to you at 5:30? Can I talk to you? Close at 5. Go to a store and the doors are closed and that light is off. You're not getting in. It's over. It's closed. So I think we have to be just as firm as the things that we see around us. The shop is closed. You can't get in. We'll be
Did you read my emails?
We'll be open to
Even to that, what I'm saying with that environment, put it away, put it up. For me, I'm doing a better job. I lock my stuff up and I put it all up. As much of it as you can, put it away. That's what I mean by you set a boundary, but nothing in your environment supports the boundary. You still got your laptop up. You still kind of creep back over. You know what I'm saying? Me too. All of this. But that's what I mean, y'all. And you all are very beautifully putting it out there. Do the things, y'all, break it down. How I ask my clients this every session. Okay, how does this break down in your day-to-day? Literally. What does that mean? If you need to set a boundary and you're not at a place now where you can have it all out and say no, then put it up. Put it in your trunk. I don't know what to be safe about it. Go put it up, somewhere where you can do it. But you don't want to put it up because if I'd have lollygagged all day and now it's the nighttime and I'm trying, you get what I'm saying? That's what I mean. You have to be honest. I didn't use the time appropriately. So now I got it out all night, but now I'm upset about people not, you know what I'm saying? Because of where I should have been. I haven't honored the time frame that I was going to get. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. But whether you are or whether you aren't, set up environments that support your boundaries. Kourtney, if you got to go on do not disturb, if there's an app for it somewhere, if you got to, don't delete the apps because it take all your stuff off the app. But I don't know if you got 2 phones or whatever you need to do to separate. Identify what you can do. A lot of the times we just don't know. We don't sit down long enough and say, dang, I can go to Best Buy. I can go to Office Depot. I can go, Google how to put this in a separate compartment on my computer. You know what I'm saying? But time out for that. Why am I not researching? What is it about me that, again, will not uphold this boundary that I need to uphold? So the question, I'm sorry, DeShon, were you finished? I got excited. I got hyped. Got hyped, girl. But how do you get people to what do you do when people don't honor your boundaries? Again, you use discernment contingent on what is the audience, what is the goal, what is my role. First of all, why am I here? Because first of all, I'm not going to be discombobulated about something that don't got nothing to do with me, that I am actively inserting myself into that didn't really need that. You know what I'm saying? So is this happening? Then I have to be honest with myself about, okay, Jasmine, did I set this boundary just enough because I really do want them to cross it so I can say how I really feel? You get what I'm saying? So what it is about me that I can't communicate what I need outside of that? What's going on with my communication skills? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is awareness, y'all. This is so why am I setting this boundary? Number one. Okay, if I understand why I set this boundary, and I understand that I can only influence the areas that I can impact. So if I'm at work, I'm going to policy and procedure. What does the policy say? I'm going, you get what I'm saying? I'm going work within your environment that you can work with. If somebody's overstepping the boundary, where's the rule book? Where's the handbook? I'm going to policy and procedure, and don't be ashamed about it, because they're going to go to the handbook about it. You better believe it. They're going straight to it. Yeah. And if they don't, whoever making the decision is. You get what I'm saying? And then if it's not a situation where that is the case, then you have to have limits within yourself of, I'm either never going to do this again. I'm not going to do this under these circumstances. There will be a contract. If you violate this, you know what I'm saying? Put it in, handle your business, people, whatever. If you violate this, if it is not submitted by 5, there is a $20 fee, $100 fee, $500, I don't care what you do. Put it in there so people, sometimes you have to meet people where they are with different guidelines. So what do I have in place that will either assist this boundary? In what environment am I working in? Do I need to go to the handbook, policy, procedure? And then I need to, number one, be okay with leaving this environment.
Yeah.
I need to understand, or I need to be in communication. Going back to what I was saying, spiritually, Lord, help me to be a good steward over what you have given me. Please show me what I need to learn in this. Is this you moving me out of this? Do I need to be looking for other things? Is it time for me to be somewhere else? You know, or what do you want me to learn from this? That type deal. But those are my things. Like, if it's work environment, go to policy procedure, go to the chain of command. If they're not doing anything, document with your clients. Put some stuff contractually, roll it out from starting, what's today? The 11th, June 14th, Monday. I'm very serious, but it gets scary if you know that you're not used to upholding boundaries. Right. Because now you have to actually do it. That's the big thing about boundaries, why we don't set them, or why we set these unrealistic ones, because we want to feel better about not doing them. But you got to actually rise to what you say you need, or own that you are the problem.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So that's how I deal with people not honoring. To answer that on the front half, put stuff in place, girl. Do what you need to do and hold people accountable to it. And you don't got to always wait till you get to frustration. Hey, Paul, Sam, Jill, whoever. Hey, I just wanted to put it out there. Thank you again for reaching out to me. This is what I need done. If you don't have it submitted, this is what it's going to be. Thank you again. Communicate what you need and stand on it so people can start taking you seriously. But we want people to take us seriously before we take ourselves seriously. And it shows. People not done, because you all can rattle off people who you don't take seriously. You know what I'm saying? And guess what? People can see the same thing in us. In the area where we don't take ourselves seriously. So I'm going to hop off that soapbox. And we're going to go to the next question. There's another one.
Look, I told y'all I was going to get in trouble this episode. I'm just going to log off.
This is opportunity, y'all. It's opportunity. It's opportunity.
Like, we're going to call this person Bill. And Bill did. That's when you got to give him a name. No,
I like it.
These answers, so very thorough, so very concrete, which give so much clarity to even my own struggles with creating and maintaining healthy boundaries. So I just want to thank you for being so open, because you're talking about me and Kourtney being vulnerable. You have really opened up and shared some very helpful things. Like, I feel like I should be paying you for your time. Like, how much?
Right. Listen, send us an invoice.
That was send us the invoice, because that was a session and you literally just got my life together. And y'all, thank you for fixing my life.
Oh, that's sweet.
I seriously want to thank you, ladies, for your time this evening. Both Jasmine and Kourtney, you guys have truly been a pleasure, because you've been opening up and being so vulnerable about the things that you deal with when it comes to Kourtney. That last question got me together, and I'm thankful that you asked it, because I think sometimes it takes just hearing these things, talking them through, understanding them for yourself, because some things go so unidentified that we don't even know that we need to deal with them. We don't. So we don't even know that we're struggling with those things. But the more that we say, I am having difficulty maintaining boundaries, boom, you made it plain, you're self-aware, and now you can fix it. So I love that we had this conversation. I hope our listeners gain something from it. And actually, Jasmine, before we go, I do want you to share with everyone how they can stay abreast of what it is you're doing and what's going on and how people can utilize your services. But before you do that, every episode we like to give our listeners homework.
Yes.
A little bit earlier, you were talking about creating these good habits for ourselves. So if you could, wrap it up in a nice bow, how we can make healthy boundaries, or how we can establish healthy boundaries, because you kind of talked about maybe it's changing your space or whatever the case may be. What's a good way to give our listeners some homework how to establish, if it's only one healthy boundary this week?
Cool beans. So something that I give to my clients, I call it help work, but it is homework. I would say I want you to take anywhere from 5 minutes to an hour to just establish one thing. It could be one goal, what you want, one desire. It could be I want to clean my closet out. It could be I want to change careers, whatever it is. I want you to establish that. I want you to make a list of your habits, just your current, what do I currently do in my habits? So if I want to, let's say, clean out the closet, currently I come in, I say I'm going to clean out my closet, but I sit down. I tell myself I'm going to sit down for 10 minutes and then 30 minutes on my phone. Now I'm going to get something to eat. Like write down your habits.
Mm-hmm.
And then by each habit, beside that habit, I want you to write if it supports or doesn't support the why that you began with. Okay. And then if there are things in there that you do that support your why, then I want you to then do another line of how you can incorporate it in your day to day. Start giving you one habit, one thing that you can do. If it's just one of those habits that you want to do every day that supports the why, I want you to do that and track that for 7 days. And if you see this live, I want you to report back to me, or if you want me to, I can give it to you in a template and email it to you so you can track it. I would like to hear of your progress, and you can either send that back to me at info, I-N-F-O, at bookjasminenow.com, BOOKJASMINENOW.com, or you can send me a direct message on my Facebook, which is Jasmine Carson. I can also be found on Instagram at Book Jasmine Now. And then I also, for my creatives out there, singers, songwriters, producers, dancers, whatever creative capacity you serve in, podcasters, I can be found at the Creative Fulfilled Collective. It's a budding community of creatives where we get to share and grow together. So that is how you can stay connected. And that is your help work until I hear from you again.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was good. And I've truly enjoyed your energy. I'm an energy person, so my energy is usually really high when I'm around people who are giving me good and vibrant energy. And if you can't tell, the energy is great. So thank you so much. And I'm going to pass the mic to Kourtney for an illuminate segment.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Illuminate segment. I am super excited today because we will be talking with Alacey Ashley of Fierce Feminine Facet. So let's get into it. Hey girl.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
We're so excited to have you here today. So, our guests know that it is custom and tradition here at Freedom Revamped that we start off by asking our guests to define freedom. So, that is the first question I have for you.
Wow. This, the word freedom has changed in definition to me over the last year. I used to think freedom was being able to fly like a bird, do what you want to do. And I thought it had a lot to do, and it still does, with money. But I do now see freedom as a lifestyle. And to me, defining freedom as a lifestyle is to be able to do exactly what you say you're going to do without any guilt, um, without any resentment for the decisions that you made. So freedom is a reset, and it's a mindset that you can have to be able to fly like a bird and be financially free and just not in any bondage.
I absolutely love that definition you just gave. So, with that in mind, saying that freedom is a mindset, since we have been almost hardwired to know who to be or what to do by society or by our parents, we sort of have to, like you said, reset and forget about all of that. And I consider it like a practice because in order to truly become free, you kind of have to practice not being what society tells you to be. So, how do you practice freedom?
Um, I practice freedom daily, and that's starting my day off not feeling overwhelmed. I think naturally I wake up as a mom. I am an entrepreneur, and then I also do, like, I'm a career woman as well. I wake up with a complete to-do list. And one thing that I said that I was no longer going to do was wake up and feel like I have to jump on these things. The first step in practicing my freedom is once I wake up, I take at least 15 minutes to myself to acknowledge myself and think about the things that I want to accomplish today, whether they have something to do with someone else, but make sure I do add that time in throughout the day for myself as well.
That's amazing. I think I tell the listeners all the time that my practicing of freedom sort of changes throughout
Yes.
time, even though my definition might say the same. So currently, I've been practicing freedom by not allowing things to stress me out because I'm an overthinker. Of course, I'm an
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur, and when things don't go how I plan for them to, it's like, why? But
Right.
yes.
Yes.
So we're going to get into the real reason we're here today. Like I said, guys, this is our Illuminate segment where we highlight entrepreneurs and founders of organizations. So we're going to talk about Alacey's organization, Fierce Feminine and Facet. So I want to ask you first, what exactly is the organization?
The organization is a personal and professional development organization that I started last year. We started off just like maybe short of 7, 8 of us, and we just kind of connected through just having like minds. This turned into something greater, I would say, for all of us, including me, which is the development part. So we all connected on some sort of level, whether it be personal or professional, but to actually develop and learn something. So we share resources with one another. We uplift each other, even if it's just simple, like, yes, girl, you don't have to be an entrepreneur to be a part of this group. And then that's when once I opened that up, and, that led to more people being able to want to be a part of a community, an all women community. If you're fierce, if you're feminine, if you're facet, you need to be a part of this community. So that's something that, like, it's just new. It's actually really fresh, but I've been figuring this out for the past couple of months, just so it can be more accepting to anybody.
Yes. And for me, like every time we're getting ready to interview somebody, we do what we call our Insta stalking to make sure we form our questions properly. And it's like through your page, I could definitely feel the female and woman empowerment that you have going on. And it's very rare that we can actually like feel it. Like people always say
Yes.
that they're, empowering women, but to be able to scroll through your account and actually actually feel like, wow, this is so empowering. So I do want to ask you, why do you think it is important that as women we empower other women?
Oh man, I'm a girl's girl. Let me tell you, I am truly a girl's girl. I was in cheerleading, I was in Girl Scouts, I like anything that had to do, I was in praise dance in church. And this is predominantly, women or ladies that I had always been. So it's just been a part of me. I'm a mommy's girl. Me and my mom are best friends. I have a younger sister. And where we do uplift each other. I know that is a good feeling to me. So to be able to do that and really shine a light solely on that page in that account for that reason, it means so much to me. And the things that I post are things that excite me. So to say, some of the things that I put on Instagram for other people, it's like a reminder, like they don't get that all the time. I'm around that a lot. So I kind of I would say, take advantage of it, or don't see at the bigger impact that I make when I do make these posts, when usually they're just kind of quotes that my mom says to me, but they touch so many people. So I believe it's just important just to make someone feel good. And that I'm just big on that, just like making your sis feel good, lift her up, empower her. And it's very powerful. It's a powerful act to be able to empower someone without expecting anything in return.
I would agree. For me, like when I'm empowering other people, it makes me feel good about myself.
Yes.
See them start feeling good about themselves. So I would
Yes.
agree with that. Now, you mentioned earlier that initially you started this for entrepreneurs, but even people who aren't entrepreneurs can join the community. So I do
Yes.
want to talk about that. Like, as an entrepreneur, I know when I was starting Freedom Revamped, I was like, the name has to be perfect. It has to really illuminate what our platform is about. So how did you come up with the name Fierce Feminine Facet?
It was on a shirt one day, like the words, it was multiple words. I actually have the shirt. It's actually funny. It's in my suitcase, but the shirt had like multiple like names on it. I got it from like like a little kiosk somewhere I was traveling to, and those three words popped out to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only word that wasn't on there was facet, but I created that from me being multifaceted. And it was actually funny because at first it was feminine. It was like fierce female, or something like that. And I didn't want to use that word female because I didn't want it to just be that. I wanted to, for one, be socially accepted. And I know right now I've gotten corrections on a couple of posts that I've made in the past, but I'm working towards that. And then people really have, when they define female, they have a specific, I guess you would say, socially accepted characteristic when you use the word female, where I use feminine instead because I was a tomboy growing up. I was not a one to wear skirts and dresses. And I think, when you use certain words, you kind of associate them with that. So to associate my actual personal life to the name that my organization created, it was another way to just really kind of get my message across of, this is me in a light that I always want to be in, but unfortunately I can't, and I say that with like just having a personal brand and then having relationships with friends, not mixing the two, being able to share the platform to have Fierce Feminine Facet as a community is really how the name came about. It was just like, oh, well, they all share these characteristics, and I'm figuring it out, girl. So that's really how it came out. No real formula to it.
Yeah, I'd say we definitely have to start being like more careful in our terminology
Yes.
because society and everything that's going on. So it's always amazing to see us as entrepreneurs like understanding that and implementing it into our platforms, because we never know who's looking or who might be offended, and we never like want to offend anyone.
Right, exactly.
So once again, in my Insta stalking, I saw that you on your platform and even on your personal page, you talk about period poverty. Now, me, I've heard this term before, but I honestly just never really dove into what it meant or to understand it. So can you explain what period poverty is?
Sure. So period poverty, just general poverty, it has a specific group of people that it affects. And when we go through our cycle, on average, a month, we're spending up to $25 a month on just feminine products alone, but specifically for your period. When I say to end period poverty, that's just making these feminine products just more accessible to our people who are affected the most in society and in our community.
Okay, I can see that. And that's
Yeah.
sort of what I thought it was, but I was like, that might not be it because
Yeah.
but yeah, I think
Yeah.
that actually is very important, because even if we think about the homeless communities, like the way the women have to go through their cycles, honestly, to me, it's like this should not be.
Right. And it's unfortunate. And I just think about, I'm not saying I'm the richest person in the world, but I know what it is to be without, even on those moments where you don't remember, like, or it just comes out of nowhere, full fledged, and you got to turn around and you're like, okay, well, I didn't expect to have the expense to go get, some feminine products. So even in creating this, I always just tell people, take it, because you actually really never know.
Yeah.
Even if it's not you who can afford it, there's probably someone around you who needs it at the moment. So it's really kind of how it sprung up. We got you, girl, period. Because I remember it happened to me in high school, and unfortunately, I guess you could say my friend only carried tampons. And I never knew how to put one in. But when it happened to me, I bled through my pants. My friend pulled me to the side. Um, and then my other friend was like, "Oh, I have a tampon. I got you, girl. Come on." Like, literally, I remember this because it was embarrassing. It was an after school program, and a bunch of people apparently had saw. It wasn't a lot, but I had a very heavy flow, and it just came through. So she talked me through how to use a tampon, and I wasn't embarrassed. I wasn't embarrassed at all about it. She taught me how to use it. And I just think from there, that's when I created the movement, just off of that scenario alone, and how, I had it. I wasn't prepared, and somebody around me was. So I was very fortunate for that.
Yeah, even with, now that you mentioned that experience, I think it's even important that we talk to like our younger girls who are about to become teenagers about it, because I remember, like, I had no clue what I was getting myself into. When I didn't have my cycle, I was, like, super excited because my mom had it, my sister had it. Ooh, and then, no, that's not what you want. It's good.
No. Yeah. But then also just to have that conversation either way, like, that honestly, some people are excited. For me, I'm the oldest girl, so I was the first one. My mom cried. It was on Mother's Day, and she cried. She was just like, whoa, that I wasn't expecting to have this conversation so early with you. And I had really, really bad cycles growing up, and I would say it never really went away. It's just a lot lighter, or maybe manageable for me because I'm older. I just remember not even having the support, or even being able to talk about and have that conversation. And I wouldn't be honest with my teachers about my cycle. Like, these are things that we should be able to say. It should be, I don't even care if he's a guy teacher.
Right.
Like, I should be able to say, no, this is an emergency. I have to use the bathroom. I don't know how it is, but back then we couldn't just get up and go to the bathroom.
Right.
We had to ask for permission, and sometimes teachers would say no. Cruel, unusual. But then it was like once girls would mention, well, I got my girl thing or something like that. Like, we shouldn't have to girl code that. We shouldn't have to code it. Be honest. I got my period. I got to go to the bathroom. You know, like that's one of the things that I just really wish weren't so taboo in our community and just in general society. Just be open, honest, and just say period. Let's just call it what it is. You know, because we get it every month. That's not something that we can avoid. And just being open to be able to have conversations like this, to be able to say period, 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 and not be icked out. So sorry to your viewers who are sensitive about that word.
Most of them are female, so I'm hoping they're not going to be sensitive about it.
Good.
But honestly, I definitely think I want to have you on something else where we specifically talk about that, because it is an important topic that isn't talked about enough.
Yes.
So we're definitely going to
super taboo. It's actually, as I grow older, it's very weird. But I can say it's a part of my household too, because my older brother, he used to be the one to like bring me chocolate home from school because I missed school because of it, or like, you know, just to be like, oh, I know my sister's not in the mood. He plays sports, so he used to be like, do you want the heating pad today? So like, you know, it doesn't have to be specific to just the word period, but just also being like just open and honest about just having the conversations of what you go through when you are on your cycle.
True, for sure.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit more about the affirmations that you post on your page. I absolutely love them. We actually recently just interviewed someone specifically about affirmations. So I do want to know, what affirmations do you use on a daily, monthly, weekly basis, whatever it is, to keep yourself grounded while also working in your creative space?
Sure. So I'm big on setting intentions. So I set weekly intentions. I created a planner really for that. Again, you asked me about defining freedom and how I practice freedom, and the affirmations are one of them. So in the 15 minutes when I do wake up, I'm making sure that I remind myself of who I am, and that does change, you know, daily, because sometimes I'm a millionaire, sometimes I am a sweet, loving mom today. Those sound different. My affirmations sound different, but my intention is always the same. And weekly, it's really just helping me reach my goals, setting my goals. So they look like, I don't know, like today I woke up and I'm on vacation and I said, you know, I'm blessed, I'm successful. I don't have to work as hard to create the results that I'm looking for. God is within me. My light is shining. That's what my affirmations look like. And it's just whatever I'm feeling. And I'm just honest about telling myself, this is the type of day you're going to have. And this is who you are, regardless of whatever comes about.
Yeah, I definitely think so many times we like keep affirmations on a surface level, but I'm working on making them more so in tune with manifestation, in the sense that even if I'm not feeling it, I want to speak it into existence. For instance, my business will be successful, even though right now it doesn't seem like it, because I'm in a space. So I definitely think it's important to know what you're going through so that you can specifically speak over that.
Yes. Amen.
But this has been such an amazing conversation, and I really hope it prompts our followers to stay in touch with what you have going on, because honestly, I know once you reached out to me, I was like, I need this platform in my life, because it's so much stuff that I could have missed out on had I not discovered your platform. So thank you so much.
Yes, no, thank you so much for having me. I think it's a beautiful platform that you have created. I love your personal brand. I love your business. So whatever I could do to support and, you know, just continue to, you know, have this season that I'm in, and then just those to come, I want to follow. I want to be a part. I want to get to know more people, because what you're doing is super important in illuminating entrepreneurs. Ain't no platform too small, so you're gonna grow. You are gonna flourish.
Thank you. I'm accepting that.
Yes.
So before we get out of here, can you tell our viewers how they can support your brand and help your brand grow, and also how they can follow you and stay abreast to all you have going on.
Yes. So if you follow FF Facet community on Instagram, that's where everything is. I'm currently working on a site solely for my nonprofit. But if you would like to become a part of the Fierce Feminine Facet community, it is open. I actually have open applications for memberships, where you can go straight on our app and just pay the monthly dues that there is, or just pay for the year. The annual dues that there is, that's open until July 1st. Then it'll go back to just opening up seasonally. And when I say seasonally, that's like mentally when I can accept more people into our circle. If you just would like to support, right now we do have the We Got Your Girl period, where you can donate to. All of this information you'll be able to find on our Instagram. And that's the brand. That's how you can support. And just comment also. Comment and share when you do see those affirmations and those posts that you like and love. Share them in the DM, share them on your story, repost them, because that's the only way that I could see this really growing and taking off. The money, the dues, all that stuff, I know I will get once you guys just do that. So a little Instagram push.
Interaction is super important, guys.
Yes.
I don't think you even understand.
Yes.
So, yes. But Alacey, I do want to thank you so much for joining us here today at Freedom Revamped. It has been a pleasure having you today.
Thank you.
Yes. To our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. That is all for today. And until next time, continue to practice freedom. Bye.